Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Image Elevators with BJ Coleman. I am super excited about today's episode and today's guest because I think I have the queen of marketing and the queen of personal branding herself, the one and only Bozoma St. John.
That's right. That's right.
Today.
Where's my crown?
I know.
Well, I guess my braids are my crown today.
Well, braids serve as a crown.
They sure do.
Yeah, they do. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'm only here because you asked me to be here. You know what I mean?
And it took a couple of days of scheduling it,
yes.
but we made it happen.
We made
I'm
it
so
happen.
grateful.
The other people who get no's, I don't want them to feel bad.
Well, they
but
can feel
you
bad. They can feel
are
bad.
special.
Well, we go back like spinal cords.
Oh my God,
and
so
I adore
far.
you. and I not only do I adore you, but I really love watching you rise. Since I think you kind of first burst into the scene,
yes.
and then you kind of elevated with each chapter of your career. And because this show is specifically about image and personal branding, I just thought you were the most perfect guest because as I told you before we got started, I think you're the queen of personal branding.
Yes, that's right. And the pivot, which is what has led to the brand.
And explain that. What do you mean by that?
So meaning that, in marketing, the idea of having a strategy and sticking to it is really key, right? You have to be disciplined to the narrative that you're trying to tell. And so as an experienced marketer, you wouldn't pivot off of that strategy too much unless it were to keep up with the times or make it relevant to a particular audience, right? However, for personal branding, you have to be a little more nimble, a little quicker on your feet because the pivot is actually essential to building the brand, meaning that you can't sit around for 5 years in something that's not working for you. You have to pivot quickly. Whereas like if this was a cup, I would say, oh no, let's just switch a little bit of the story. Let's just switch a little bit of the colors. Maybe we need to try a new spokesperson. We didn't stick it out for 5 years. Not for a person though.
So how does a person then pivot when it comes to personal image or personal brand? Are you talking about style? Are you talking about career? Are you talking about name change?
I'm talking about all of it. Like it's evolution. I kind of feel like, look, all of us as human beings, we change and evolve depending on circumstance or life issues or job. There's so many things that happen to us. So you cannot be the same as you were 5 years ago, right? So the person I was before December 11, 2013 was very different until afterwards. Afterwards, I was a widow. Before that, I was out here, like I got a baby, I got my husband, I got my house, I got my
Were you working?
jobs. Yeah. I was at PepsiCo. I was doing great, And the thing is that like after December 2013, I had a new title. Which had nothing to do with my work, but I had
the title being widow.
The title being widow, meaning that I took on a new identity that I had not planned on having, but it created a pivot in my life, which I had to accept, had to wear like a mantle.
And then also, and that was a pivot that you said you did not plan, or that you did not even manage on your own. But don't you think those kind of pivots, getting fired from a job or even getting promoted for a job that you're not expecting, but those unexpected pivots are the way that the universe moves you where you're supposed to be?
Yes. But also, you have to be a person of action. So it means that when something happens to you that's unexpected, you don't sit there and wonder like, woe is me and what do I do now? I'm not saying that grief isn't the type of thing where you need to sit down for a second. Of course you do. But at the same time, we've all seen people who've had major things hit them and they've not been able to get up again. But a pivot requires that you get up. It requires that you take the step forward and move. I mean, look, I wrote my book, The Urgent Life, based on the idea that I've risen to the top of so many companies, and I haven't done it because I've been held with a silver spoon. I haven't done it because nothing terrible has happened to me. I haven't done it because like I've been sitting here like la-di-da-di-da, peace and love all around. No, it's been very difficult. There's been lots of losses. There's been grief. There's been betrayals. There's been all kind of things that have happened to me, but it didn't stop me from pivoting and then being able to take on the next role and the next role and the next role.
And so how did you land such great roles?
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
You've had great jobs. People don't know. You've worked at Uber. You've worked at PepsiCo. You've been at Netflix.
That's right.
All in
Endeavor,
the executive suite levels
of
these companies, these major corporations, these Fortune 500 businesses. Yeah. And you've kind of ran their marketing divisions.
Yeah.
How did you get them? And, particularly after becoming a widow, pivoting from with your norm to this new norm, because I feel like after December 2013, you became, this powerful business entity.
Yo, look, it was like Phoenix rising from ash. Like everything burned down. It's like who I thought I was, who I thought I was going to be, just always destroyed.
Who did you think you were going to be? What were you?
Well, I mean, look, I had it all, quote unquote. I had a powerful job working at PepsiCo, running the music and entertainment marketing division. I put Beyonce on the Super Bowl halftime stage. I had a 4-year-old daughter who was gorgeous and incredible and well-mannered. I had a husband. I had an apartment on Central Park West. I mean,
my favorite neighborhood, my favorite
You know
street.
what I mean? It was like, what was there to want?
Right.
Right. And then all of a sudden it was like, poof, my husband dies of cancer. I'm looking at my job. They're telling me I'm not hitting enough home runs. I've got a 4-year-old who I don't know what to do with because my husband was the one who wanted a family and I kind of went along, and now I was stuck. And I'm like, wait, I didn't plan to be a single black mother. And that comes with its own burden of identity that people put on you, as if you are just stupid and just don't have any ambitions in your life. They've put on this word on you that makes you feel like you're less than. And I'm like, yo, I don't know a harder working person on the planet. Give me a single mom any day. And if she's black, oh man, that woman has faced the fire and she's still here, And so the funny thing though is that when people look at my resume and they read off the companies and read off the titles, everybody's like, oh my gosh, give us the strategy on how you made it. How'd you get this job? And then you jump to that job. And it's so brilliant, the moves you've made. And I was like, yo, I don't think you understand that in those moves, people booed me. Okay? Going from place to place to place. This was not like a marching parade of people being like, go Boz. Every time I have switched, every time I've pivoted is because of my own intuition, my own self-discipline, my own self-belief, because nobody thought it was a good idea. When I left PepsiCo, I'd been there for 10 years, okay? And as I said, that last Super Bowl, I had put Beyonce on the stage. We won an Emmy. The next Super Bowl after that was Bruno Mars. After that was Katy Perry. After that was Lady Gaga, okay? I was leaving after Beyonce. Even the CMO of PepsiCo at the time said, this is a bad idea because why are you going to leave this behemoth?
Where were you going? Did you have a job?
To Beats by Dre.
Did you have that was offered on the table?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Would you have left if you didn't have an offer, or did you feel like time was?
No, I was leaving because I had an offer and because I had to get out of New York City.
So I mean, it was
it was a place of grief for me, and I didn't want to be there. And everybody who was in my life advising me was like, first of all, you're at this enormous company, you have this great title, you're getting paid very well. Why would you leave to go work for Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine at this little company? And also, you're in grief. You should probably not go anywhere. Stay for a year, heal and get better and then go. And what they didn't understand is that if I stayed, I would have died there. It was just New York did not have the same type of energy for me any longer. And I had to get out.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, no, girl, you need to, take a little breather, just hang on for a minute, go and do a retreat to feel better about yourself. And I'm like, no, the way that I need to feel better about myself is to keep moving.
No,
I got to get up. I got to go.
It's so funny you say that because I was so tied to New York as well in my career, and everyone associated me with that. When I came to LA, I didn't tell anybody. And when I got here, people were like, oh, I thought you would never leave New York.
Right.
But it's so funny that you say that because the energy did change, I think, a lot. I left in 2018.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back, but I get to go back all the time. When I go back, I love it.
Yeah.
But
I was in New York this weekend.
People are so afraid to move.
No, they are. But that's the thing is because you're asking other people for their opinions. And people are like, oh, no, but BJ, you are so New York. Everything about you is New York. If you're going to hate LA, the people are not the same. The vibe is not the same. They don't move like you move. And then you're going to have all this doubt in your head, and you're probably going to delay, even though your destiny is where you're supposed to be going. And you know that. They don't know that. And this is not about the haters. People always think that criticism comes from haters. And I'm like, no, it comes from the people who love you.
Yes.
The people who love you are the ones who instill fear in your heart about the things that you're supposed to do.
And that might not be their intention. intention.
Of course it's not their intention.
Right.
But they don't live your life.
Right.
They have no idea what your path is. And so, of course, they're going to advise you based on what they fear for you.
And what they're comfortable in.
Correct.
But their comfortability can't be your comfortability.
That's right.
Right.
And so, yeah, when I left Pepsi, I was on a high. I mean, I was up here. And so people were like, well, why would you go risk that? Move to a new city with your 4-year-old, and now you're working in what? You know? But the thing is, when I got there, 3 months later, I was sitting in Tim Cook's office in Cupertino at Apple, and we were talking about acquisition of Beats Music, which had only been alive for 4 months.
Was Tim Cook head like he is now, or was
yes, no, he
Steve
was the
Jobs
CEO.
Was there?
No,
Okay.
Tim Cook was already CEO. I think Steve Jobs had passed like 2 years before
Got
that.
it. Okay.
But in any case, I mean, look, so I got the job. I moved to LA in April of 2014. And in August, I was sitting at like the headquarters negotiating our acquisition.
Wow.
And then I was offered the job to run iTunes and build Apple Music.
Wow.
Everybody who told me to sit down and wait for a year, if I'd listened to them, I would have missed that entire opportunity. I wouldn't have been there. I've been sitting over here talking about the NFL. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at for sure, but the move to Apple moved me into tech at a pivotal time when tech and entertainment were just finding their synergy. And if I hadn't been there at the crux of that, Netflix would have never happened. That job there would have never happened. Even my job at Endeavor, working with Ari Emanuel and, you know, UFC and Miss Universe and like WME, all of those, that wouldn't have happened without the move, you know, based on the pivot.
Of course.
And even to that point, like by the time I was at Apple for, I guess, 3 years or so, I was really intrigued by what was going on at Uber, but look, I was, again, like flying really high. I had just done the Apple keynote in 2016 where like I introduced Apple Music to the world. You know, it's like, look, everybody was writing articles. I think Business Insider said I was the coolest person to walk on the stage since Steve Jobs. You know, it was like Tim Cook does one cover every year. That year it was Fast Company. He was on the outside cover. I was on the inside. You know, I mean, it was great. But then I looked over at Uber and I'm just like, yo, what's going on over there? Because it'd been the unicorn darling of Silicon Valley tech. I mean, that was like real tech, right? And it had started to fall because people were like, delete Uber. You know, they felt that the executive team was racist and they didn't have diversity and the drivers weren't being paid properly. And if you got an Uber, you'd probably get kidnapped and like all of this stuff. And Ariana Huffington is a friend, and she was on the board of Uber at the time. And so I call her. I was in my office in Cupertino, and I call her, and I'm just like, oh my God, all this stuff that's going on. Like, give me a lunch with Travis. Like, I want to talk to him. Travis Kalanick is the founder of Uber, and he was under a lot of pressure, a lot of fire. So we met for lunch. Ended up being an 8-hour meeting. I came out the meeting and I was like, shit, I think I have to go to Uber. Like, I think I have to go.
You felt inspired?
I felt inspired. Like, I felt like, oh man, this is a company that I could really like, you know, my marketing brain was firing on all cylinders.
And you can help
while
them.
I was happy at Apple, I felt like that's where I was being called to. And every single person in my life was like, why would you leave Apple? Like, why would you go? Like, why would you leave this company that like everybody respects and go to Uber?
Let me ask you this. At this time, you packed up your life that you knew in New York.
Yeah.
Your husband had passed.
Yeah.
You left Pepsi for Apple.
Well, Beats.
Beats and Apple, and you're happy there. And then you're entertaining a job at Uber. My question to you is, what vision did you have for yourself at this time? Where did you see your future?
I saw myself as the most popular person in Silicon Valley. That's what I wanted. And I wasn't going to get that at Apple. Because Apple's idea of shine is like, there's no individual shine.
Did you find yourself, did you find the vision changing for you at every new job? Or
no, it was the other way around.
Or the goals? Or
I think it was the other way around. Like, I saw a vision change and then I went to get what was next. Yeah. But that's my point, is that like, I wasn't asking people's opinion about what they saw for me. You know, I just feel like people go around about that the wrong way. Like, if you go ask people, like, what do you think my brand is? Or what do you think I should do next? Or should I take this job? Or should I date this person? Should I wear this to this show? you're giving your entire power away. Then you have no idea what you're supposed to be doing because you're not listening to the voice.
So then my question now is, then who do you seek for advice?
I don't.
You don't seek
myself.
Advice?
I don't seek anybody for advice.
Do you have mentors?
No.
No. I don't either.
No, the funny thing is that, like, and everyone in my life, like, if I had, my good girlfriends around, my mom, even Jerry DeVard, who I love, she's probably the closest person I have for a mentor. She would tell you that I don't call her to ask her for advice on what I should do next.
Then what do you call her for?
I call her to get support. I call her to pray for me. I call her to, it's like, hey, look, I need some discernment around here. Like, help me think through this. But I don't ask her what I should do.
Your name.
Yes.
Bozoma St. John.
Yeah.
I know that it's mispronounced across the board, probably daily.
Always.
Because my real name is difficult as well, but no one ever calls me that. That's why I go by BJ Coleman.
Okay.
But how was it navigating with your name?
Yeah, well,
because I think a name is so important. Now your name is synonymous with your brand, obviously, and there's no other Bozoma that we know, which I think works in your favor.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And how has that helped or hindered your career?
Well, here's the sort of like the backwards answer to it, which is that I'm named for my grandmother, my father's mother. My parents are originally from Ghana, and that's the way naming conventions go. I'm the eldest daughter, so I was named for his mother, right?
Her first name was Bozoma.
Her first name was Bozoma, yes. And
Ahuntasen.
oh, well, yeah, thank you. Look at you. But the interesting thing is that when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. My dad was involved in politics, and he's a philanthropist and all kinds of things. So we moved around the world a lot. And so every other year, I'd had to reintroduce myself to people. And I'd have to figure out a way to get people to remember how to pronounce my name, or to call me properly. Because I remember in kindergarten when they couldn't pronounce my name, and my dad always called me Boz. And so I told people my name was Boz, and they called me Rose. And I kept it, and I wrote it on this little drawing that I'd done, and I brought it home, and my dad was, who's Rose? I was like, well, that's what they called me at school.
Right.
And he was like, what? He was like, do you know that you have an ancient name, and it means goddess, and you should never shorten it, never change it for anybody? Like, if people want to, make a nickname, that's different, but never let them mispronounce it or misrepresent it. And that was when I was like 5 years old. And so I never forgot that. For me, the idea of pronunciation is a respect thing. And I make a joke, but it's serious all the time. Like, literally in every meeting I'm in, I'm like, look, I'll give you 3 chances to mispronounce my name. After the 3rd time, then I know you just disrespected me. Then I know you're not listening.
Not even listening.
No. So then I'm not even concerned with you. Get out of here, But the thing is that I think for all of us, whether it's your name or it's a pronoun or it's, some bit of identity about you that people get confused by or don't answer properly or, misrepresent you, you have to take also those little cues and make sure that you understand what people's intention is for you. That's part of the brand, And it's like, look, I've also taken on other names. Like, I started calling myself Badass before people were using that like as a, daily affirmation.
And that's now your handle on social media.
It is, yeah. But the funny thing is that I started calling myself that because I was just like, but I am. Like, I can't figure out another way to describe myself. And it was crazy because people were like, well, what kind of professional calls themselves Badass Boz?
Right.
Yeah, I started calling myself Badass when I was at Apple.
But and what makes you a badass?
Oh my gosh, well, because I'm fearless. And I don't need other people's validation in order for me to feel great. And I walk into rooms like I own them. And so it's like when I come in, often people are like, ooh, who does she think she is?
And I think a lot of people, I'm the same way in the sense that, I'm very confident. I know I can enter a room and I have a presence. I think a lot of people have a problem with developing that. What tips can you give someone to walk into a room and own it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There's one which is based on science. Then there's the other, right? The science of it all is physics. So in physics, there is matter, right? Whether it's matter in a bottle or it's matter made of mud or clay or something like that. every molecule in the matter is important, okay? When you take one molecule, one little tiny molecule out of the matter, the entire matter changes.
Yeah.
You add a molecule into the matter and it changes again.
Yeah.
So my consideration is that I am a molecule, and every room, every board, every company, every school organization, every group chat I enter is matter. And so when I enter it, it has to change based on my presence. And so just based on physics alone, I'm like, why would you not walk into a room and know that you change it based on your presence alone?
Not even change it for the better.
Yeah.
But your intention is to change it for the better.
Change it for forever. My point is that you have impact.
Yeah.
You know, and so you walk into rooms knowing that without you there, the room is different.
Yes. But I say that because I think, you know, having seen you out and about and obviously been at events with you, I think that in order to command the presence, there has to be a certain level of responsibility. You're not bringing the room down.
Yeah, no,
you know,
of course,
you bring it up, you lighten it up, you make it great, you make it just that much more fabulous.
But what I'm saying is that I don't think that's a unique quality to me. I think all of us should walk around understanding that our molecule actually matters, and that you don't have to go in feeling like, oh, I'm the greatest marketer alive in order to have presence. You know, and so it's like when you think about who you are and what you have to contribute, the ideas of like, you know, what you bring to a situation doesn't have to be like monumental. It doesn't have to be like the biggest thing that ever happened. It's just that like your opinion is going to be interesting because of your experience. You know, where you came from. Like, what have you done? What is your opinion on any number of topics? And I think if you walk into situations understanding that your molecule actually matters, and that being in the room isn't good enough to just sit in the background, then you would walk in differently.
And what's the second element to it?
Oh, the second is actually about understanding what your power is. You know, so the first is just science. It's like, look, you walk into a room, it's going to be different because you're there. Yeah. The second is like understanding what your power is. So yeah, what is it that you bring? Like, what is the thing that makes BJ special over anybody else? What's the thing that makes me special? And again, it doesn't have to be like this, like encyclopedia-worthy accomplishment. It is the fact that, like, look, maybe you are really intuitive and you can understand empathy across a room. And therefore, when you walk in, I mean, sometimes you're like, ooh, I know this person having a bad day. I know that person has a great day. That one wants to be in charge. And therefore, you are talking to people based on their emotional capacity. Or maybe you have like a really great talent with like remembering data points. And so in the meeting or in the room that you're in, that's what your job is, you know, to contribute that to every single point. Like somebody makes an amazing point about, oh, how, you know, people's opinions of the world have changed. And you're like, yes, well, because 27% of people, I don't care, drop the science, sis, you know? So for me, it's like, look, understanding what it is that you have that is special. Doesn't necessarily have to be like different from everybody, but what is special about you, and contribute that
and use that to your advantage. Speaking of pivots, I know you lost a home in January or February around when the fires came to LA. How did that affect you at all, if at all?
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, look, that home was incredibly important to me because it is the home that I really, really fought for. You know, it was on Pacific Coast Highway on a stretch of Malibu that doesn't have any other black owners on it. As you know, the properties come up very, very few and very far between because people pass on those properties to children. And so this is generational wealth that we're talking about on PCH, right?
Even in Beverly Hills, when I have family visiting, I'm like, these houses you can't even buy.
No, you can't buy. They're not on the market.
They probably bought them 50 years ago for like $2,000.
You can't get them now, you know? And I rebuilt the house. I put in not just a lot of financial, you know, investment in it, but my own emotional investment in it. You know, it was a place of peace for me. It's a place that my daughter and I really loved. It was the kind of place where I didn't have a traditional key. I had a keypad so that my friends and family who needed to go for respite, you know, could go and recover, you know, in that place. And so when it burned, it was more significant than just like, oh, okay, you lose a house and go get insurance to let you build another one. It was like, yo, I had to put that property in a trust, inside of a trust, so people would know that a single black woman was buying the house. You know, I had to redo the house from the ground up because I needed to make it feel like it was mine. Is the place that like my cousin went to cry when she had her breakup and find her power again. So it wasn't just like, oh, this is a wood and marble contraption.
Have you been able to rebuild it? Are you rebuilding it?
No, I mean, look, well, you already know there's so much red tape. No one has rebuilt yet.
Yeah, I heard that the other day, but I wasn't sure what the process
it's terrible.
were. I'm going back a bit, but you're the queen of pivots. So how did you use that disaster to your benefit, if at all?
Well, here's the thing: is that I haven't seen the benefit yet, right? But my point about disaster or things happening to you that feel like the end of the world, that feel like you cannot get up again, is that simply you cannot do that. You have to get up. I mean, 2 months after my house burned down, and that was at the beginning of the year, it was January 7th, you know? So everybody's coming into New Year like, new year, new me. You know, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. People have like put their, you know, like all their reflections and the resolutions up and all of that stuff. And then here I go, boom, my house is gone, you know? And 2 months after that was when I signed the deal to do my show On Brand with Jimmy Fallon on NBC. You know, if I had been laying down, licking my wounds and woe is me, I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to take the meeting with Jimmy, you know, and to really sell the idea that like I could do this better than anybody. But the point that I'm making is that tragedy happens. Like shit happens to us. You know, you can't escape it in this life.
You can't escape it.
And so the question is, what are you going to do in spite of it?
Right.
It's not as if like I'm just sitting here cool, calm, and collected and that's just the way life is. No, I am successful in spite of all of the things that have tried to take me down.
Yes. I feel that and I hear that. You're talking about your new show On Brand. I want to talk to you about becoming a television personality.
Yeah. That's a pivot.
Yeah.
Sharp left.
That's a pivot from executive. I mean,
can we talk about that for 1 second?
Talk about
Let me tell you this story real quick.
Yes.
Okay. Like, by the way, again, just going back to the pivot and listening to yourself, BJ, you already know. You know the amount of people who called me who were like, what in the hell are you doing when I signed up to be a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? You know, because they were like, you're in the Marketing Hall of Fame. You have an amazing corporate career. You've now just published a book, like sabbatical over, go get you another job. And then I'm like, I think I'm going to go on the Housewives. And they were like, you're going to destroy your reputation. Like, this is going to be the worst thing that's ever happened. Why would you go on TV and fight with women? And I was like, but why do I have to do that? Like, who said that? Like, somebody's writing the script for my life?
Right.
I don't think so.
Right.
So I went and did it my way, which is actually what led me.
What was your intention?
My intention, because I'm a storyteller. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a marketer who is a storyteller. I write narratives. And when I looked across all of those franchises and the different cities, I didn't see a woman who reflected me. You know, a woman who is self-made.
But Garcelle was on Beverly Hills.
She's not a corporate person. She's an actress. You know, I'm like,
That's
I was
what you're
looking
saying.
at.
You didn't say a woman who reflected you, a self-made woman.
Yeah, I don't mean like
Bethany
reflecting me as
Frankel?
like being a black woman.
What about Bethany Frankel?
She's an entrepreneur. She built a business, which is a fantastic thing. Garcelle is an actress who has built a amazing career of film and TV. But there weren't women who were self-made from a corporate standpoint, who now amassed wealth, the kind of wealth I have, based on their own gumption. Those didn't exist. And also ones who were interested in coming and fighting with people on TV. You know, people wanted to pick like petty battles, and I was like, why? Like women who are 40, 50, 60 years old, we have enough drama in our lives.
Right.
We're taking care of kids and aging parents. We're over here trying to navigate 25-year relationships that are going down the tanker. We're talking about grief, you know, having lost a husband. Like, we're talking about things that are much more monumental than whether or not I was invited to somebody's goddamn lunch.
So how did you rise above the fray?
Because I'm me. And I decided that I was going to go on this program and bring myself, like the true self, and not have to do the things that other people said. There was a producer on that first season.
And the producers...
unnamed.
Try to get you the drama going.
Well, to some degree, but this one in particular, and that's not true for most of the producers, at least for our franchise.
Okay.
But this particular producer, maybe it was like my third outing with the women, and he came up to me, pulled me aside, and was like, you know, you're gonna have to get a little messy. You're gonna have to get in there. You know, like pick a little something with somebody just so there's some interest. And I was like, oh, absolutely the hell not. I was like, you have the wrong person. And he was like, well, that's how these things work. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be popular. And then, you don't get a second season. And I was like, well, then I guess I'm not having a second season. Because like he thought that was going to scare me. And then but I was like, look, you don't understand how many times I've started over. I don't care about that. Like, I don't care about being popular in a way that is detrimental to my own personal values,
Yeah.
And so the way that I approached it was that I'm like, hey, look, I'm a good friend. I'm a great friend, actually. Like, I'm empathetic. I understand people's struggles. I can advise. I can stand up for myself. I can turn because, look, now it's like I'm talking about my romantic relationship. I'm talking about trying to have a baby at almost 50. I'm talking about, raising a daughter by myself who's 16 years old. Like, there's so many other things for me to talk about. And so as I approached that season, it was that. Like, I am an established business executive who has all of these other personal things going on in her life. And based on how I appeared on the show was how Jimmy Fallon decided that I was the right person to co-host the show with him. And so my point is that without going on the show, without in that first episode dropping my resume, because I was like, I don't think you know who you're dealing with. Let me just educate you on who I am. And then Jimmy and his wife watching that episode and being like, oh my God, who is that? I don't get a show on NBC.
Right.
And so my point is that had I listened to the friends and the loved ones.
Or the producer, for that matter.
Or the producer.
Right.
Who knows.
Right.
Who has been successful in this area. I would have been SOL.
Right.
And so for me, it's like you got to listen. That's, again, coming back to the point. To yourself and your own intuition and sticking by your guns so that you're not swayed by other people's opinions.
But you're so authentically yourself.
Yeah.
How did you become that way? How did you find the, to use your word, gumption, to just be yourself and to know who you are so clearly and so focused?
Well, because I tried the other way and I failed at it. So I'm not even gonna pretend like I didn't try. In the beginning of my corporate career, right? I looked around to be like, okay, well, who's successful around here?
Right.
You know what I mean?
As everyone does.
Of
you
course.
Don't know. You're 20.
Yeah. You're looking around. You're like, okay, how they doing?
And you're modeling that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I failed so miserably.
Of course.
I remember exactly, like it happened yesterday, the review I was in, when I had been wearing the gray suit, when my hair had been pulled back, when I was sitting on my hands so I wouldn't gesture so much, when I would try to keep my voice as monotone as possible, as not to get passionate. And I was still in the review, and they told me, by the way, they didn't tell me anything about my work. Everything was everything people could see. Like, oh, you intimidate your colleagues because of the passion in your voice.
And what's so funny? You say that. I constantly am telling people, because I think being Black and speaking passionately, people mistake that for anger or anything.
Yes, of course.
And I say, I'm speaking to you I'm just very passionate. I'm not yelling at you. I'm just very passionate.
I'm just very passionate.
And I am passionate.
And they will
and
take
I think as marketers, you are passionate.
Yes, you
as
are.
Artists, you're
Are you
passionate.
kidding me? You hear how quickly my voice rises when I'm excited about something, you know? And so given that feedback, I went home, I cried. I cried my eyes out. They told me I wouldn't make it. They were like, look, you dress the part, you look the part, your ideas are really great, but it's just not gonna work. So you should be satisfied with being in the middle. And I was like, okay, all right. Because I was listening to people who were successful. They were already up there. And if they couldn't see me up there, then who was I to argue with them? So I cried. I cried my eyes out.
You cried because you knew that wasn't who you were?
No, I cried because I knew that they were probably right. And so again, like, I'm not gonna, I'm not one of these people that lies and pretends like I've just, I've always known, but no, I cried because I was like, well, shit, I've been trying to do this thing and they telling me that I'm not going to make it. And now I'm disappointed because I want to get up there and I'm not going to make it because they're up there and they know. So why would I argue with them?
So then what was the impetus that changed your perspective?
Well, because I came to the office the next day and I was like, well, if I'm not going to get up there, then I might as well just be who
myself.
I am.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And then in being yourself, did things accelerate for you?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And so I realized that now, of course, it sounds like, oh, well, that, of course. Write that on a T-shirt and sell it. But the thing is, it is very hard to do. It is extraordinarily hard to do.
Especially if you're a certain age,
Ooh,
you know?
Yes.
And you're in that beginning stages of your career, entry level, trying to pivot and transfer to the next level.
Yes, of course. If your boss is telling you that you're not going to make it because you talk too excitedly.
Yeah.
Or that like your colleagues don't like you.
Right.
What are you going to say? They have to like me. I'm amazing.
Right.
No, of course not. You're going to go home and cry.
Do you think that at a certain age, particularly in your young 20s, starting out your career, or even younger, you have to fake it till you make it? You have to kind of play the game a bit? Or do you just hit the ground running being yourself?
I just feel like, look, I can't even, how do I put this? It's like, I don't know that at any stage you can fake it, you know? Because, look, when I decided to become an entrepreneur and start my own business, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, you know? And there has to be some humility in that so that you are hungrier. You know, it's like, and also so that the people who need to help you can help you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just faking and pretend like you got everything under control and it's chaos, you're going to remain in chaos.
Yeah.
You know, instead of being like, I actually don't understand what the hell's going on here. You know, but the thing is, the difference, right, is that like I know what I'm really great at, and then I know the areas where I'm just like, I could probably use some help over here,
right? And
so that's why I'm able to be vulnerable, because being able to like, you know, say you don't know or you don't got it takes real vulnerability.
And it also takes courage. I think it's also part of being authentically you, being yourself. You have to be able to admit what you don't know, you know, at certain times, right? And I think that's very important.
I'm like, that's why I don't believe in the fake it till you make it. I'm like, no, work your ass off till you make it.
I agree. How do you use social media? We're so short in time. I could talk to you all day. Isn't it so good?
I know.
How do you use social media to your advantage, if at all? What tips could you give people to use social media?
I love social media. I absolutely love it. I know
we're in the
it's
social
like,
media era.
Yes,
you can't avoid it.
But you know, people feel like it's like the devil's playground.
Do you think it's been beneficial to your career?
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think people know who I am without my social media. You know, and the thing is, I use my social media in my self branding, in my own self promotion.
I think you have to.
Oh, yeah. But you know, but people want to like humble brag. I'm like, dude, take the humble out of it. Just brag.
But
Go ahead and tell people. Do you think it's difficult
for people like us, like particularly, you know, again, I was telling you before, I had Felicia Butterfield on last season, and she and I were talking about how difficult it is in corporate America when you have your own brand and you have your own entity, essentially, trying to leverage and still play the corporate game.
Yes. Oh, it is impossible because they will hate you for it.
But you've been able to manage it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I haven't been hated. I just happen to be like, oh, well, hate me if you want to, but the results can't lie, right?
Right. And you still maintain your social media throughout it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, because you recognize that people who outside of that circle still needed to have a touchstone.
And people are watching me.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so that's the other thing where I'm just like, look, if your social media is on private, please take it off private.
Yeah, agree.
Go public.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
And why have a social media if it's going to be private?
Exactly. And it's like, if the people are watching you at work, let them watch then. You know, it's like, if you have a perspective on fashion and you happen to work at McDonald's, you know, and so all of your social media is about the fashion and what you did like this weekend and where you went, and then you show up for your shift. And people are like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, you come in here, you put on your uniform just like the rest of us and fry the fries. And you're like, yeah, I know. And I also happen to like fashion. And I also happen to be really good at it. That's okay.
Right.
If you're in a corporate space and everybody in your office, you work at a law firm and you're over here, you know, paralegal, and everybody is wearing their gray suit and they're all very demure. And then you're out here on the music scene every weekend and you're talking about the artists and you're giving live reporting from your reels on it. And then you go back to the office and somebody's like, oh, I saw your outfit on Saturday. Yeah, did you like it?
Right.
Did you listen to the content?
Right.
Did you watch? Did you learn anything new? Right. You know, you should listen to that artist. I can give you a recommendation for 10 more. I'm like, just own it.
Own it.
You know, don't hide. There's no need to hide. You can't build a personal brand.
But it has to be on brand with who you are and what you represent,
yes,
obviously.
That's correct.
You can't be an attorney and then on social media have pornographic.
Ooh, well, that might be a little difficult.
Yes.
That might be a little difficult.
But if there's a passionate a legitimate passion or something that you're doing that might not align with your 9 to 5, it doesn't mean that you can't showcase it or allow that to be part of who you are on social media. I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. Really quickly, because we're going to have to wrap things up very soon. I have so many more questions for you, but because you had mentioned something that I thought was very important, and I want to just quickly get your advice on this. What advice would you give to particularly Black single mothers, because I do think that the load is heavy, particularly in this day and age. What is your advice to Black single mothers everywhere?
Well, here's the thing, is that, the mantle that's been put on us, from just a social identity standpoint, is both supposed to empower us and then is also very detrimental. You're supposed to be like the strong, silent type. It's like, oh, you're a single Black mom, so you can do everything. You're there for your kids, you're there for your work, you're there for your friends, and maybe you have a love life, maybe you don't, but that's okay, because sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. And I'm like, what the hell for? So you can be miserable? I've said this on other platforms before, that I'm like, look, we've all been the consequence of somebody's miserable existence. You could probably name somebody in your life as you were growing up who was miserable and took it out on you. Maybe in obvious ways, maybe in subtle ways. But we've all been victim to it. Why would you want to be that? It's like, if you don't put yourself first, then there's no way you're any good to anybody. And I know we say that. I know people say it all the time, but you actually have to act like it.
But people are afraid to do it because they think they're being selfish.
Yeah, but who cares? Right. But it's your life.
It's your life.
It is your life.
Yeah.
If you are not happy in your life, believe me, your children know. If you're not happy in your life, believe me, your boss knows. If you're not happy in your life, girl, you're not going to find no man or no woman. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And so the point is that you do have to make decisions based on your own happiness. It is something that I have taught my daughter. And there are multiple ways that I've said it, because she knows. And when I ask her, I'm like, girl, who's the most important person in your life? I don't want her to say her mom. I want her to say herself. And when she asks me, Mom, who's the most important person in your life? I'm not saying her. It's me.
Right.
I'm the most important person in my life.
Right.
Because the thing is that I have to be satisfied in my life to show up really well for her, to be happy in my life so that I'm joyful around her. I can't hold resentments or wish that I had done this, wish I had done that. It doesn't mean that like I'm a less caring parent or somehow I'm going to put her in danger because I'm over here just worried about what I'm doing. But my point is that, like, if I need to change career, then I am planning to do that change, so that I can make more money, or so that the people who are getting on my nerves at work don't have me spilling over into my household,
right.
Right. Or that it's like, look, if there is a bake sale at the school and I don't have time to do it, I'm not going to stay up all night and not get any sleep so I can be prepared for the bake sale. I'm going to take myself to Kroger and I'm going to buy that baked good so I can take it to the school.
Right.
Okay? So my point is that, like, we don't have to be the superhumans,
right?
But we should be absolutely selfish in our life.
And that's amazing. And we're going to have to end it there because we're short on time. But now you are engaged, about to get married. So everything, have 2 new seasons. I'm putting it out there coming up. Definitely Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You can catch Boz on and On Brand.
That's
the second season will be coming in 2026.
Amen.
And we're going to be looking forward to pictures and stuff from your wedding.
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
BJ.
You're
Thank
amazing. You're a light.
So
and I think that this was going to be so helpful to my listeners and viewers. Thank you guys.
You.
You're watching Image Elevators with BJ Coleman. Special guest, Bozoma St. John. Catch her everywhere your TV is on. She's everywhere. And you can catch the podcast on a live podcast network or on my YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in.